I should have taken that envelope and run. But instead, I did the one thing my lawyer spent 6 months forbidding me to do. I locked the door from the inside, and I faced him.
Do you realize what you just did, Greer? There isn't a courtroom between us anymore. There are no more rules.
Whoa, calm down. Hi, I'm Gia, and this is my diary of collected secrets. Before I tell you how Greer, a stubborn redhead who just signed her life away in a divorce, ended up cornered in this room, we need to talk about him. Julian is 40 years old, and he's the only man in that city who never raised his voice. And yet, he made everyone obey. And apparently, he's been saving every bit of his patience from the last 6 months for this exact moment. Shall we start from the beginning?
They say that when your world ends, there should be some kind of sign. A storm, a silence, something. But the morning of my final hearing was offensively bright. I stood in the hallway of the courthouse, clutching my bag so hard my knuckles were as white as the marble floors. Then I heard it. The sound of shoes on stone. I didn't have to look up to know it was him. Julian has a way of occupying space before he even enters it,
Good morning, Greer.
he said. No, how are you? No, are you ready? Just a statement of fact. He looked perfect, as always. A charcoal suit that fit him like it was molded to his skin, and that scent, sandalwood and calm. I looked at him, searching for even a flicker of empathy. Nothing. Just those stormy Atlantic eyes focused on his briefcase. Is it going G to be over today? I asked. My voice sounded small, even to me. Julian finally looked at me. He adjusted his cuff link, a slow, deliberate movement that felt incredibly intimate for a hallway full of people.
By noon, you will be a single woman, Greer. That is what you wanted, isn't it?
Ouch! See what I mean? He's a brick wall, but look at Greer. She's looking at his hands. Diary, we all know she's not thinking about the divorce papers right now. She's thinking about those hands. And honestly, I can't even blame her.
The courtroom felt like an icebox. Every time the heavy doors swung open, a draft of cold air swept through, but it was nothing compared to the chill radiating from the man sitting next to me. Julian didn't speak. He didn't offer a reassuring pat on the hand or a comforting nod. He just sat there, a statue of professional excellence, flipping through pages of evidence as if my entire life were just a series of typos he needed to correct. I watched his profile, the way the light from the tall windows caught the sharp line of his jaw. He was 40, and he carried every one of those years with a quiet, terrifying authority. He was the only man in that room who never had to raise his voice to be heard. When he stood up to address the judge, the entire room seemed to hold its breath.
Your Honor?
He began. His voice was that low velvet growl that I had heard in my dreams for the last 6 months. It was steady, unbothered. He spoke about my failed marriage with the same clinical detachment he'd used to describe a broken lease. I felt a surge of irrational anger. How could he be so calm? Didn't he see me sitting there, practically vibrating with the need to scream?
Oh, he sees you, Greer. Trust me. Diary, did you catch that? He hasn't looked at her once, but notice how he keeps shifting his body just enough to block her ex-husband's view of her? Julian is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. He's not being cold. He's being a predator protecting his territory. He just hasn't told the territory yet.
The hearing lasted 2 hours. 2 hours of listening to my ex-husband's lawyer try to paint me as the villain, while Julian dismantled him without ever looking up from his notes. He was ruthless. Every time the other side thought they had a win, Julian would drop a single sentence, a date, a bank statement, a quiet fact that ended the argument. When the judge finally hammered the gavel and declared the marriage dissolved, I expected to feel a weight lift off my shoulders. Instead, I felt a void. "It's done," Julian said, finally turning his stormy Atlantic eyes toward me. He didn't smile. He didn't congratulate me.
Go home, Greer. My assistant will send over the final paperwork for you to sign.
That's it? I snapped, the adrenaline finally boiling over. 6 months of fighting and you're just dismissing me like a naughty child? Julian paused. He adjusted his cufflink, a slow, deliberate movement that made my breath hitch. For a second, just a second, his gaze dropped to my lips.
You are no longer my client, Greer.
He whispered, so low only I could hear.
I suggest you leave before I stop acting like your lawyer.
I spent 4 hours in my apartment staring at that blue folder. 4 hours of silence that felt louder than a gunshot. I was free. No more husband, no more lies. But all I could think about was the way Julian looked at me in that hallway, like he wanted to devour me and destroy me all at the same time. By 8 p.m., I was back in my car. By 8:15, I was standing in front of the mahogany doors of his firm. The cleaning crew was gone. The lobby was dark. But I saw a sliver of light coming from the top floor. His floor. I didn't knock. I didn't call. I just pushed the doors open, my heels clicking against the marble like a countdown. The office was cast in shadows, illuminated only by the orange glow of his desk lamp. Julian was there, his tie loosened, his sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that made my mouth go dry. He was the only man who never raised his voice, but right now, his silence was screaming at me.
Okay, diary, stop. Can we just appreciate the sheer audacity of this woman? She's going into the lion's den at night, wearing that black dress, looking for a fight she knows she's going to lose. And look at Julian. He hasn't even looked up yet, but his jaw is so tight he might actually break a tooth. He knew she'd come. He counted on it.
I walked right up to his desk and dropped the blue folder on top of his keyboard. I'm not signing it, I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. Julian finally looked up. His eyes weren't just stormy anymore. They were dark, predatory. He leaned back in his leather chair, the sound of the material creaking in the quiet room.
The court has already ruled, Greer. The papers are a formality,
he said, his voice a low, velvet warning.
Go home. It's late.
No, I snapped. You spent 6 months telling me what to do, where to sit, and how to speak. You acted like you didn't even see me as a human being. And now you just want me to disappear? Julian stood up. Slowly. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. He walked around the desk until he was standing just inches from me. He didn't touch me. He just occupied all the air I was trying to breathe.
I saw you, Greer.
He whispered.
Every second of every day for 6 months, I saw you. I saw the way you bit your lip when you were nervous. I saw the way you looked at me when you thought I wasn't paying attention. And I stayed professional because if I hadn't, you wouldn't have gotten your divorce. You would have gotten a scandal.
I backed away, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. A scandal? What are you talking about, Julian? You were the one who kept pushing me away. You treated me like a file, not a person. Julian let out a short, dry laugh, the kind that didn't reach his stormy eyes. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a plain manila envelope. No blue folder this time. No official seal.
Your ex-husband didn't just want a divorce, Greer. He wanted to destroy you. He hired a private investigator to follow me, hoping to catch us in a single moment of weakness.
He stepped closer, closing the gap until I was pinned between his desk and the heat radiating from his body.
He knew how I looked at you when the cameras weren't on us. He tried to blackmail me into throwing your case, or he'd leak photos of us together to the press and ruin your reputation before the judge could even sign the decree.
My breath hitched. Photos? But nothing ever happened, Julian. We never even touched. Exactly. he whispered, his voice dropping to that dangerous velvet growl.
I had to be a monster to you. I had to make sure that even a telephoto lens couldn't find a spark of warmth between us. I had to win your war, Greer, even if it meant making you hate me.
Okay, Diary, I'm literally screaming right now. Can you imagine? This man spent 6 months acting like a robot, watching the woman he wanted suffer just so he could dismantle her ex-husband in the shadows. That's not just a lawyer. That's a predator with a law degree. Look at Greer's face. She's realizing that every time he was mean to her, he was actually taking a bullet for her. I can't. I need a moment.
The room felt too small. The scent of sandalwood was everywhere, intoxicating and suffocating all at once. I looked at the man who had been my anchor and my enemy for half a year. He wasn't raising his voice. He never did. But the raw intensity in his eyes made me feel like I was standing in the middle of a hurricane. "So it's over now?" I asked, my voice trembling. "The case is won. The P.I. is gone. There are no more cameras." Julian's hand finally moved. He didn't grab me. He just traced the line of my jaw with the tip of his thumb. A slow, agonizingly light touch that felt like fire.
The contract ended at noon, Greer,
he said.
I'm no longer your lawyer. I don't have to protect you anymore. And I definitely don't have to be professional.
He leaned in, his lips inches from my ear.
So if you're going to run, do it now, because if you stay in this office for one more minute, I'm going to stop acting like a gentleman.
My breath was coming in short, uneven hitches. The danger sign I had ignored for 6 months wasn't just flashing now. It was a roar in my ears. Julian was still tracing my jaw, his thumb moving with a terrifying slowness that made my skin catch fire.
Run, Greer,
he whispered again, his eyes dark with the hunger he had kept locked behind legal statutes and ironclad contracts.
This is your last chance to be a free woman.
I looked at the blue folder on the desk. My freedom, my ticket back to a life of quiet safety. Then I looked at him, the man who had destroyed my enemies while letting me think he was the villain. I didn't run. I reached out, my fingers trembling as I gripped the lapel of his charcoal suit. I pulled him closer until the only thing between us was the sandalwood-scented air and the heat of our shared breaths. "I've had enough of freedom, Julian," I whispered. "I want you." The calm he had spent 40 years perfecting finally shattered. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. But the way he pulled me against him was an act of absolute authority.
Fine.
He growled, his voice a low, velvet promise.
But remember this, Greer. Once you're mine, I don't negotiate. And I never, ever let go.
And that, dear diary, is how you turn a legal victory into a very, very personal surrender. Can we just take a second for Julian? The man literally won her case, protected her from a blackmailer, and still managed to make her the one who chased him. That is high-level strategy right there. I'm telling you, those quiet ones are the most dangerous. They don't bark, they just conquer. As for Greer, well, I think she's going to be very busy for the next few days. Something tells me she won't be checking that blue folder anytime soon. This was just the first entry from the vault, and believe me, the pages are overflowing with stories like this one. If you want to be here when the next seal is broken, subscribe to Gia's Diary. We're just getting started, and I'd hate for you to be the only one not knowing the ending to our next secret. What about you? Would you have run? Or would you have locked that mahogany door too? Leave a comment because I'm dying to know if I'm the only one who's a sucker for a man who knows exactly how to break the rules. I'm Gia, and this was our first secret shared. See you in the next one, if I don't get distracted by my own lawyer first. Bye.